Greetings, everybody. Carl Diffenderfer here from Higher Impact, and we have a special guest that's going to join us today as we talk about some very important things. I mean, right now, leadership is so important, right? We have so many uncertain times happening, things happening in our world that are just kind of crazy. And we watch people around us that are just really struggling with their mental health, and our hearts go out to those people. If you're struggling, we understand. And so we, as a coaching organization, aren't here to help, especially with mental health. That's what a counselor is supposed to do. But we are here to help people lead better, and how we lead our lives as business owners, and how we lead the people around us, how we lead our business, all of those things. So today we're going to have my head coach, David Smock, and he's part of the team here at Higher Impact, an amazing man with an amazing history. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we can lead better through these uncertain times. So please welcome David, if you can give a round of applause in the background as you watch today. And let's talk a little bit about how we lead through these uncertain times. David?
Hey, Carl, good to see you, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm well. And how are you?
Doing very well. Glad to be on here.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, set the stage a little bit. First of all, David, share a little bit about you. I want to hear a little bit about you for the people watching that don't know you.
Sure. So I've been working with Carl as part of his team of coaches here for, I think, since August of last year. 14 years in the coaching space. I feel like it's like my third career. First career was in corporate America as a project manager, project leader on large IT business systems. So love business. My degree is in business. Just love the business owner and staff and kind of I feel like I'm in the people business right now instead of the numbers IT business. And I went from that to professional ministry, I guess, Christian ministry, pastoring churches, church planting. I love Christian business owners. I love business owners, period, but special place in my heart for the Christian business owner. And so 14 years ago I started in business coaching and leadership coaching. In 2015 I took a step of connecting with the John Maxwell team, and so I've been part of the John Maxwell team now for what would that be? 9 years now, almost. Is that right? Wow, crazy. 8 years, 9 years. And so, I've brought a lot of Maxwell material, Maxwell thoughts into my coaching business, helping leaders to be better leaders. John Maxwell is famous for this saying, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. If we're out in the woods taking a walk by ourselves, we're not leading anyone. So look behind you and see who's following. Also, just really part of my journey with business leaders is helping them to really navigate the times that we're in. We are in times of great rapid change. Things are going faster and faster. Even people who are experts in the field say that we are facing rapid change, and even markets are changing fast. And so, that's part of what business owners face. It can cause the anxieties. It can make people feel like they're all alone. There's a lot of different pieces to that. So, helping leaders to make a shift into being able to, this process. The business at the speed of light, sometimes I like to call it.
Yeah. So here are a couple statistics for those of you who are watching on just how people are struggling right now. And David, you and I have many clients that we talk with on a frequent basis who really are struggling as leaders. So the first is that 23%, almost 1 in 4 people are experiencing or have experienced mental health condition here recently. That's huge. That's a lot of people. So we as leaders, as we lead people, we need to take that into consideration. But it also helps us understand that there's a tumultuous environment out there right now. The other statistic is that I recently read this, and I'm looking for it here. Um, the impact of depression and anxiety has a global economic impact of $1 trillion in lost productivity each year. So, for those of us who have staff who are
Yeah,
struggling with their emotions, the loss in productivity has been over $1 trillion on a global scale. That means you are losing money as a business leader if your
that's right.
staff aren't at the emotional wellness that they need to be.
That's
And
right.
so one of the things that we do as coaches is we're being proactive in helping your staff stay healthy.
Yeah.
Leadership is all about creating proactive results in people so that they stay healthy. Um, David, what are your thoughts on that approach, the proactive versus reactive approach?
Yeah. So, as a leader, we might be one of those that are struggling with the emotional health issues ourselves. And it
Mhm.
really is important for us to try to be as healthy as we can be. Um, there are a lot of different ways that we can do that, dealing with stress. My last coaching firm that I worked for, we had a different product that we provided of just almost like coaching people in the area of just stress management and things like that. Um, which a lot of our business owners then brought that into their staff situations.
Mhm.
As
Yeah.
business managers, we actually can be coaches of our people. So
Yeah.
we can actually learn the skill sets to actually help people to manage stress in these
Mhm.
uncertain times. It's not a, it's not business owners face it, staff face it, and all of this can lead to lost time, lost productivity, higher costs, different parts of that. So um, being a Maxwell guy, uh, he wrote a book called Leader Shift,
Mhm.
SHIFT. And
Okay.
it's interesting. He wrote this book in 2019 before the pandemic.
Mhm.
I read it at the very beginning of the pandemic, and I was like, is this guy like a prophet? Like what, what was his mindset behind this? But he was already seeing where we need to make some shifts in leadership to
Mhm.
help us to navigate these times. One of those, if not done right, could actually cause anxiety in an organization or even with a leader. But I think today we want to talk about some ways that we can actually do that right, and it really is about becoming more agile or even
Mhm.
adaptable in our leadership style. Um,
Mhm.
uh, Agile is a buzzword out there in industry
Yeah.
now. You have agile systems development, agile computer development, agile team development. Really,
Mhm.
what it means is to be able to be adaptable. Um,
Yeah.
my business career started out early as a uh, project manager of large mainframe systems. So we would we would add one letter to a big file, and it would take a year and a half and $1 million to make this change. Um,
Mhm.
where agile systems development, I'm going somewhere here. Agile systems development is allowing the ability to make small micro changes in a much
Mhm.
more quicker way. And so,
Right.
even when it comes to agile leadership development or us as business owners, changes in our systems, if we can do it in small incremental steps now to actually
Mhm.
prepare for changes in the future, then it brings our
Mhm.
team along in a much better way. Um,
Correct.
there's
Yeah.
this, you're not making the big change to totally reorg your business when context shifts. You're not making the big change to adapt to a changing marketplace. You're making the small shifts that will go into that. So I think
Yeah.
that's part of being agile as a not just a business owner, but creating a business that can make those changes as well.
Yeah, and so what happens to corporations is they lose their ability to be agile because they can't make the shifts as fast as they need to, and
Right.
sometimes the discernment of what are the little shifts that we need to make have happen. I find a lot of business owners. I'll ask them, "Hey, how's your business going?" They'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's going good," blah blah blah, and I found over time as I've coached a lot of people, I've come to realize that a good leader is going to be able to identify the major bottlenecks or challenges, or dare say, the word problem. you
Right.
know,
Exactly.
but yeah, we can't admit we have a problem, but every
Right.
business has problems. And so the leaders that are willing to admit that they have this problem or challenge or hurdle, whatever you want to call it, are the ones then that can go and tackle it. And so going towards that challenge and making that small agile shift to fix that challenge
Mhm.
is the best way to lead the company.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
No, totally, totally agree with that. In fact, I think we as business owners, we as leaders, we see problems as the things that we by ourselves have to fix, right? So what
Hmm.
we do is we silo ourselves. We sit in our office, we get out our pad, we map out a strategy. This is what we're going to do. And sometimes I think that's what actually causes your staff to go into times of anxiety. Like think about COVID. Not that we really want to go back and think about that, but you know, we were thrust into a world that we had never been in before, right? And
Hmm.
leaders are faced with these challenges, like how are we going to do everything remotely, or how are we going to do business without being able to be in the same room, or how can I
Hmm.
get my employees to actually be productive when there are so many distractions in the home place where we're at. And so there's just a lot that goes into that. And that's one of the things I love the very first chapter of Maxwell's book because it's really from soloist to conductor, from
Hmm.
soloist to conductor. Let me unpack that a little bit. Um, so if we think that the buck obviously stops with us as a leader, and
Hmm.
it's important
Hmm.
for us to understand it, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that the decision making process is only encompassed within us and our own head. Um, a big part of agile systems development or agile teams that's out there in the corporate genre is the idea that we actually bring a team together who has different expertise, different ways
Hmm.
of looking at things, and we build these systems together. So when Maxwell is saying going from soloist to conductor, it's really a leader who's actually able to pull out of his team members, assemble a team around, and there's three big things that we talk about. We'll talk about this in a minute around assembling a team, but assemble a team around trust,
Hmm.
responsibility, accountability. It really is ownership. So build
Hmm.
a team that will own the problems and the solutions. Um, and each person has a stake in the issue that is brought together. There's another piece of that I actually helped a one of my clients kind of coached him through this idea. You we have customers, right? We have clients. Well, in the corporate field, it would be like the end user for a computer system. So go with me on this
Okay.
analogy. What you always want to do is bring the end users into the discussion. And so, just
Hmm.
in talking to this one client I had, he was really facing some serious questions, and his business was struggling with gaining traction. So we talked about this idea of, well, what does it look like to bring your end user into some of these discussions? And he said, well, my end users are outside of the company. I said, okay, let me ask the question again.
Mhm.
What does it look like to bring your end users into some of these discussions? What happened was we thought through who are your two best customers, and he basically set appointments with them. He took them out to lunch, took them out to dinner, and said, "Hey, we just really wanted to hear from you. How can we actually do this work that we're doing? We'll just be generic on it, and in a way that's actually going to meet your needs in the best way possible." And he got
Yeah.
so much information from that that he then brought back to his team, and they redesigned some of their products, but also the system for creating these products in a more timely way. So again, it's to have like a
Mm.
team mentality, not just in your staff, but to look at the different pieces of your organization and how can you bring them together so that everyone is involved in the decision making process and it doesn't rest on the leader, and then it's not done in a silo,
Mhm.
which causes your staff to feel that anxiety of, well, what's the future going to look like? Well, if the staff is working together to create that preferred future, it really helps a lot deal with the issues that we face in business, in our uncertain times.
Yeah. So I'm gonna paint a picture here for a moment, and the
Mhm.
picture is has anybody ever sailboated before that's watching? Sailboating, I never have. I'd love to. I really want to someday, although I get sick in boats, so we'd see how that would go. But um, a sailboat, if you have a large enough sailboat, the people that are actually leading the sailboat, or flying, that are guiding this sailboat, they have a lot of little duties they have to do in order for this sailboat to sail properly.
Right.
Obviously, somebody needs to be guiding the ship, but then you have all the different lines you have to pull, and the bigger the boat, the more you have to do that. And I often look at business owners, and sometimes it feels like they are the sailboat, or they are running the sailboat, or guiding the sailboat, and trying to do everything else. And it just doesn't work. You need to have a team of people that are helping with the different functions. As you kind of said, the conductor, the same thing. You have people, somebody that's in cars serving the rail cars serving the people, so on and so forth. Like we need the team around us. But oftentimes leaders struggle with one key word, and that is trust. Um,
Mhm.
how does a leader learn to build that trust and to have that trust, really have it? How does a leader have trust?
Sure, sure. Well, a couple of ways that you can build trust in your people, is to add to their value. Help them to grow. If you're helping them to grow, it goes a long ways for them to build trust in you. If they see themselves as just a cog in your empire, which I would
Mhm.
never encourage. Maybe that was when Ford was making the Model A, or something like that. But would never
Right.
encourage anyone to have that attitude. You have to bring them in. And
Mhm.
the other thing too is trust is built upon understanding, right, Carl? We've talked
Mhm.
about this
Mhm.
before. One
Yeah.
of the best questions, Carl, you helped me with this a lot, is this phrase, help me to understand. Help me. What
Yeah.
is that? That's a is that a what's that? There's a book out there. I just is escaping me. Um,
I don't know what the book is,
how to
but
win friends
How to
and
Win Friends and Influence People would certainly contain
influence
that
people. Yeah,
concept.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. It's chapter 5 or something like that. The idea of like help me to understand. If someone feels like they're heard, if someone
Mhm.
feels like they're understood, it goes a long ways to building trust. Um, Lencioni and his 5 dysfunctions of team, he says
Yep.
the foundation of all breakdown is lack of trust. And so
Yeah.
to
I
build that
agree.
trust by hearing people, understanding people. I see a lot of business owners today deal with the generation gap, right?
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
business leaders who are a little more senior, like me, a little less hair. There's a generation gap, and the way people, the worldview of younger people today who are entering the workforce, even with advanced degrees, is so different than it was even with my generation and the generation that went before me. And so a big way that we can build that trust is through understanding. Also is give
Yeah.
increase a person's responsibility in increments so that you're not
Mhm.
necessarily giving them the
Yeah.
full load. Hey, here's the manual, go figure it out. But what are the ways you can so that they actually will grow in their own trust of themselves as they're navigating things. I remember early on
Yeah.
in my journey of growing in project management, I had a project that when I first thought about it, it kept me up at night. But what my boss did was she said, well, you don't have to know everything about it right now. Let's figure out what you have to be an expert in today. So again, incremental change, I think, is an important part of navigating some of the uncertainty that we have today.
Oh, my apologies. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes. Sorry.
Can you hear me
I was
now?
trying to let you know that I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, something must happen with my mic there. So we've all had people who have we've watched business owners hire somebody, and when they hire them, they give them the reins and they give them more reins and they give them more reins because they're so excited. Somebody's finally going to take these things over. And the
Yeah.
person sometimes is overconfident. They're like, yeah, I can do that. I can do this. I can do that. And so all of a sudden this business owner is like, wow, this is amazing. I've never had this much freedom. But what
Yeah.
always happens, David, like every single time that honeymoon phase comes to a close and that business owner is devastated through the effect that that person had on and ultimately the person didn't do it on purpose. They didn't sit there and say, how can I
Yeah.
ruin this business?
That's
But
right.
oftentimes they do ruin the business. And a great example of release trust, slowly release responsibility slowly. I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the
Now,
big
uh, go ahead.
No, that's okay. One of the
Go
biggest
ahead.
topics that I think I've really addressed with business owners in their business is the idea of how to build a team. And that's a part of it.
Mhm.
Like it's all part of team dynamics and how to navigate that with your staff to actually mitigate some of the
Yeah.
future problems or issues that could arise. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've already touched on the first topic that we had written down here was trust, earning the cohesion of our team. Number two is having a team around them that basically helps to make decisions and obviously owns those decisions, really responsibility and accountability. And in point number two, any other thoughts, David, to add to that before we move on to our third point?
No, responsibility. We would like to say the term we like to use is empowerment. How do you empower your
That's a
team?
good word. Yeah.
And that is by giving them responsibility. We can't give responsibility without accountability. People
Yeah.
actually have to be held accountable for their actions. There's benefit
Mhm.
to the business owner when they do that, but that, believe it or not, there's actually been a benefit to the staff,
Yeah.
especially if you're part of a team, right? Because people are always looking at, the knights of the round table. Someone is always looking at on the other side of the table at someone else, right? And so
Yeah.
it's important for there to be, accountability and responsibility in a way that values
Mhm.
the education, the background, the abilities of a person, and accountability in a way that is almost like handed out equitably, if that makes sense. That we work through issues of mistakes that are
Mm.
made
Yeah, that's good.
in a way that um, this is where I like to help business owners learn to be coaches. Is help them to coach people through
Yeah.
mistakes that are made or different things like that, or even coach them through responsibility. So yeah, I think those are invaluable
Yeah.
pieces of team building and important to cohesive teams, obviously.
That's good. Okay. So for our final point in our notes from today was building adaptive systems and really begin working today on things that could be adaptive and fluid tomorrow. We've touched on
Absolutely.
this a little bit throughout our conversation today, but how does somebody begin to build an adaptive system? Give me a practical application of how they do that.
Yeah. So I have a client right now that they're in a certain type of business. It's an industrial business, and they promote and they sell themselves around this particular thing that they add in the address. I'm trying not to like try to be generic in this, but they also are a company that has a lot of heavy equipment. And so there are
Mhm.
times and seasons where, based upon weather or whatever the context is, that some of that equipment sits and is not used. And so, one of the ways we're talking about, well, how can you
Mhm.
be more adaptive with all of this vast, um, you know, amount of equipment? Are there other markets that you can develop and begin the incremental change. So in some ways, this is even looking at their business because of their investment in equipment is not just having one product offering, but maybe they're actually, and I don't know about promoting this, but maybe what they need to do is they need to see themselves as large equipment operators who can be flexible in the
Mhm.
deployment of their teams to actually meet the needs of the community that they're in. So that's an example that's at the top of my head because of the conversations just recently had. Another idea of adaptability is even
Mhm.
what's your adaptability like financially in your company? Do you have so much
Right.
buried in one product line? Maybe it would be good to get your team together and think of other markets that you can go into. We like to talk about this, Carl, often when we talk to people about lead generation, right? Okay, so figure out a few different ways that you want to generate leads and put some money in there,
Mhm.
but then test it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? We would never, in
Right.
uncertain
Exactly.
times, we would never put all of our money in the stock market, right? We want to diversify. So even diversify some of your lead generation so that you're
Yeah.
actually putting
That's good.
some money here, some money here, some money here. And then if you find one that's really going strong, okay, so move your resources into there, but also be willing and able to make changes when that one seems to peter out. Um,
Yeah.
I thought about I've always thought about this, the back in the horse and buggy days, and then the automobile comes along, the car comes along, right? And what happened is, while I'm in the horse and buggy business, that's all I know. So
Mhm.
these horse and buggy businesses folded because the automobile came along. Well,
Right.
we're crazy in developments of technology. AI, I mean, Carl, you and I use AI in our coaching and different things like that. And it's there, right? It's important for us to know how to use it. But we can't say, oh, I'm a paper and pen business. I could never use that. No, we should actually be
Mhm.
making those shifts within our own organization to use some of the
Shifts. Yeah.
technology that is
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, many people out there are struggling through how to use AI in their business and how to
Yeah.
use automation, marketing automation, and
Mhm.
process automation. If that's a struggle for you and you're watching this, I'd challenge you to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to share some of the software we use and some of the ways that
Okay.
we do that. We actually have people on staff that help with that process. And so if you're feeling stuck and you need some marketing automation or systems process automation set up, we'd be happy to show you how we do that. An easy way to do that is to email us. hello@higherimpact.me. It's a great email to reach out to us from, and I'd be happy to chat with you. And David would as well. We're here to help you with that. On that note, this email address is very important because David and I are getting ready to launch, I believe in May, we're going to be launching a leadership mastermind for business leaders and for their staff to really work on leadership principles. It's going to be a John Maxwell leadership mastermind group. And the focus of the group really is to level up your leadership. And so if you know somebody that needs more leadership, or maybe you want to work on your leadership skills, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to give you more information about that. And then finally, the other one that I want to share with you is that we have a time management. One of the best ways to lead is through our own time management, how we manage ourselves. People watch how we spend our time. And so if you have interest in learning how to gain up to 40% of your time back through our next leadership, let's call it our retreat, our quarterly retreat. In January, we had over 25 people there from all over the country. They flew in for the event, had a great time, learned a lot. This next one is on time management, how to gain back 40% of your time. Go to gainbacktime.com to learn more information. Love to have you join us at that event. It's coming up here in the beginning of May. And so if you're a leader and you want to become a better leader, you want to level up, you want to be challenged, you want to grow, and you want to see those places that you can really go to the next step, go to that next level, reach out to us. We can show you how. And that is how you're going to make lasting impact in your business for both kingdom purposes and also for personal purposes, for your business growth and success in your business. So on that note, David, what's your one key thing that you want to leave with people that, man, if you do anything in your leadership, do this?
Yeah, I think the thing is become a people development organization of developing your team. If you do that, it's going to pay off. And I think that's a big part of we need to begin to empower our people. Obviously, we are the one who buck stops with us, but that doesn't mean that we have to silo ourselves in our leadership and our decision making. Bring people into the process. Yep.
Yeah. And so some of the indicators, if you feel like if this is you have toxic people in your workplace, you have people that aren't willing to be held accountable, you have people that are unteachable, you have people that really just have a poor attitude. They have a bad attitude towards you or towards the other people around them. If that's your workplace, please reach out to us, because we can help you with that. We can help you fix those problems. And it's not something that you should try to carry alone. That's a big burden to carry, to try to fix those things alone. So, okay, David, thank you for being here today. We're going to be doing more of these. Remember, gainbacktime.com. gainbacktime.com and hello@higherimpact.me. If you're struggling, you want to reach out to us, happy to talk to you. And David, you had something you wanted to say in closing?
Oh, no, just looking forward to May. It's going to be great.
Likewise. Okay. All right, everybody, take care. We'll talk to you soon.